The Odyssey, told by an idiot. Also, I did make the Trojan War first, so you probably should watch that one first, but if you don't want to, that's also fine. So, there's this guy called Odysseus, and he's the king of Ithaca, but he's not actually in Ithaca right now, he's in Troy, and he's been at war for 10 years. Him and a bunch of other kings start to sail home, and then they argue, and Odysseus' fleet of turn away, and Menelaus is like, "Yo, Odysseus, what are you doing? Troy's back that way. Odysseus, Ithaca is in the opposite direction." Odysseus doesn't listen and goes that way anyway. And the crew of 6 need food, so they stop by an island. Hi! There's a bunch of insane people who ate an evil plant. The insane people tell Odysseus and his pal Polites that there's food in this random cave, and they trust them, for some reason. On the island with the cave, there are lots of sheep, and the shoot them. Then a Cyclops comes out and cries. He's just a baby, and these men have killed his only friends. He takes the men to his cave and starts to kill them for vengeance. Odysseus tells the Cyclops, who is called Polyphemus, by the way, but that's not super important, that his name is Nobody, or No One, or No Man. It really varies. You would get the point. And tricks the Cyclops by doing this. Then he drugs the Cyclops and stabs him in the eye. Real nice guy, that Odysseus. Anyway, the remaining crew escapes, and Odysseus, in one final screw you to the Cyclops, gives his full legal name and IP address. Wise Odysseus. Yeah, right. So the 528 men, or whatever was left at this point, continue home. Little did they know, Polyphemus was the son of Poseidon, and cried at his dad like a little wah-wah baby, and Poseidon got mad. Odysseus' crew find themselves inside the storm. They find a floating, not that sort of floating, island of Aeolus, the wind god. And Odysseus goes in and asks for assistance. Aeolus gives Odysseus a large bag of wind and says, "Don't open this bag, no matter what." And then the bag gets opened by the crew. Then most of the said crew gets killed. Karma. The remaining 43 men find themselves on a luxurious island with a lovely woman and food. She turns them into pigs. Odysseus finds out, and after getting drugs from Hermes, hatches a plan. He approaches the woman, a witch nymph called Circe, and they fight. And then Circe tries to sleep with Odysseus, and yeah, let's just skip over this. Odysseus stays on the island for a while, and his men are back to humans. Then they were sent to the underworld where yeah, Odysseus meets the dead spirits. Every time I dare to close my eyes. The dead spirits of Achilles, Agamemnon, Patroclus, Ajax, his own mother, and Alpenor, number 558 to be killed after he
drank wine from a chalice on top of Circe's palace and fell and broke my neck in shame. But what do you...
Basically every dead guy he knows queues up and trauma dumps on him. It's ridiculous. Odysseus meets the prophet, Tiresias, who tells Odysseus a lot of things that vary from version to version, but Odysseus is basically never happy. Then the crew leave the underworld, trick the sirens by filling their ears with beeswax, go to the Lair of Scylla, where 6 more men die and the crew commit a mutiny. I have no idea how many are left now, like 20. This is ridiculous, guys. The crew divine cows and get divine smited by Zeus. Odysseus wakes up on a strange island with a strange woman and is just generally confused. The woman is Calypso, and she instantly falls in love with Odysseus and keeps him there for 7 years against his will. At least he's alive. His crew of couldn't say the same. And that's where he stays, stranded, alone, with 7 years to think about how giving a Cyclops his IP address was maybe a bad idea. Athena finds out and goes to Zeus and says, "Hey, can you free him?" And Zeus says, "Nah." So Athena says, "I'll tell Hera you cheated." And Zeus says, "Alright, fine." Hermes will go tell Calypso to free him, but we ain't helping him at all. Then Athena goes to Ithaca to see Odysseus' son, Telemachus. A bunch of suitors have moved into Odysseus' palace and are basically your average A bunch of suitors have moved into Odysseus' palace and are basically your average A bunch of suitors have moved into Odysseus' palace and are basically your average Twitch chat. Why was that so hard to say? Athena goes on to mention Teletubby, who goes to talk to some of the other kings to ask about Odysseus' journey home. He doesn't get much news, just that Odysseus is alive, and that Menelaus would rehome the population of a small town just so Odysseus and his family could live there. Simp. Penelope has been warding off the suitors for years, tricking them and refusing to pick one. She set a challenge. The first suitor who can string Odysseus' bow and shoot through 12 axes, whatever that meant, will marry her. Odysseus arrives in Ithaca, disguised as a beggar, and finds out about the suitors. Odysseus completes the challenge, while also killing the lead suitor at the same time. Then, he and Telemachus kill the rest of the 108 suitors with relative ease. Odysseus reunites with Penelope, but to prove it's him, she sets a challenge. She tells him to move their wedding bed away. Odysseus tells her it's carved into the olive tree where they first met, and that to remove it, he would have to cut it from its roots. Knowing that this is him, because only him and one other guy who's now dead knew that, Penelope embraces her husband for the first time in 20 years. And that's that. I did say that I was going to do Hamilton. I probably won't, if I'm being honest. Me and a couple of people have started work on Epic Musical Abridged, so I believe we will do that next. But anyway, thank you for watching. I really suck at outros.